ட்ராக்கில் இருந்துட்டேன், கொஞ்சம் ஸ்லாக் ஆஃப் ஆகிட்டேன். பட் ஐ கேன் ஸ்டார்ட் அகைன். ஒரே நிமிஷம் இருங்க, வந்துடுறேன். ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுவேன், பட் இன்றைக்கி வந்து அப்படின்ற ஐடியா இல்லை. ஸோ டேரெக்டாக நான் முடிச்சிட்டேன் காலையிலேயே. ஸோ
it can be vector, it can be queue, set, map, and a lot of other things. And during the course of learning containers, I'll be also teaching you what are iterators. So these couple of things you'll be learning at first. After that, I'll be talking about different algorithms and different functions that do exist in C++ STL. So before moving on to containers, you have to actually learn about pairs. Now what is pairs? Pairs is a part of utility library. Okay, now imagine I say that I want to store a couple of integers. I want to store 1 and I want to store 3. So the only way that you can do is you can store it in a pair. Now how is pair defined? You define the pair stuff, and then you say the first stuff that you want to store is of integer data type. The second stuff that you want to store is of integer data type. Then you enclose them into curly braces. So what happens is this actually stores everything into a variable p. So this variable p is now having 1, 3. That is the meaning of way that you can do it. And you four parts. The first being algorithms, the second being containers, the third being functions, the fourth being iterators. So as of now, we will be learning about containers. It can be vector, it can be queue, set, map, and a lot of other things. And during the course of learning containers, I'll be also teaching you what are iterators. So these couple of things we'll be learning at first. After that, I'll be talking about different algorithms and different functions that do exist in C++ STL. So before moving on to containers, you have to actually learn about pairs. Now what is pairs? Pairs is a part of utility library. Okay, now imagine I say that I want to store a couple of integers. I want to store 1.
ஆக்சுவலி நோட் புக் எல்லாம் கோட்டடான ஸ்டஃப் தான். நான் வந்து அதை தான் க்ரியேட் பண்ணலான் இருந்தேன். நான் வந்து இல்லைன்னு நினச்சிட்டு இருந்தேன். பர்ஸில் பார்த்தா இருக்குது தம்பி அப்படின்றாங்க. நான் என்ன பண்ணுறது? இதே மாதிரி ஒரு இதுதான் க்ரியேட் பண்ணலான் இருந்தேன். ஆனால் இது எந்த அளவுக்கு ஒர்க் ஆகுதுன்னு தெரில. லைக் நான் செக் பண்ணேன். ஸோ இப்போ வந்து ஓகே லிங்க்ஸ் ப்ளேஸ் பண்ணலாமா? ஸோ இப்போ ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் உங்களுக்கு வந்து இப்போ நோட்ஸ் வேணும், இவனோட நோட்ஸ் வேணும், பேசுறதெல்லாம் புரிஞ்சிச்சு, நீங்கள் கொஞ்ச நேரம் 2 நாள் 3 நாளில் மறந்துடுவீங்க அப்படின்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன். இப்போ அதை நோட்ஸ் வச்சு பார்த்தோன்னா டக்குன்னு பார்த்துக்கலாம். இல்லைன்னா இவன் வீடியோ திருப்பி பார்த்துன்னு பார்க்கணும், அடுப்பாகாது. அதுதான் இந்த மாதிரி கொடுத்துட்டோன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்களேன். லிங்கை பேஸ் பண்ணி இது கூகுள் ரெடி பண்ணி கொடுத்துருவோம் உனக்கு. இது பக்காவா நீங்கள் அதில் கொஷின்ஸ் கேட்டுக்கலாம் போல இருக்குது. வெயிட் வாட் அப்படி தானே? வாட் இஸ் த ப்ரைமரி? அதான் அந்த மாதிரி தான். ஸோ கோட்டடாக இருக்குது. இருங்க, பேட்டா ஸ்லைட் டெஸ்கா இன்னும் நான் செக் பண்ணிட்டு தான் இருக்காங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். இதையும் செக் பண்ணணும், இதையும் பண்ணணும். Create your own overview of your sources featuring study guide, suggested essay questions, blog, insightful takeaways distilled into highly readable article, basic practice guide to efficiently use STL containers algorithms. ஃபார் மீ ரிவிஷன் ரிப்போர்ட்னா என்ன புரியலையே தலை. சரி ஓகே, எல்லாத்தையும் போய் தலை ஒன்று கொடுக்கும். ஷார்ட் ஆன்சர், சஜஸ்டட் essay questions and glossary of key terms. glossary இதை போட்டுக்கோம். ரெண்டுமே இன்னும் ஜென்ரேட் ஆகிட்டுருக்கு. நோட் புக் எல்லாரும் கோட்டடுங்க. பிளான்ஸ்லாம் இருக்கா? எல்லாமே சர்வீஸ் பேஸ்டு. சரி அதான் அப்படி இருக்கானுங்களே தெரில. காசாக வாங்கிக்கிறீங்க அந்த மாதிரி போட்டுக்கிட்டு. இதுதானா ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் அக்சஸ்? yearly access, priority access, and no watermarks on generations. Bruh. Notebook தானா? ரைட்டு ப்ரோ. இவனுங்க கெத்து ப்ரோ கொஞ்சம். ஏன் இவனுங்க வந்து ஐடி ஃபீல்டில் மட்டும்தான் மற்ற ஃபீல்டு அந்த ஆடிட்டரிங் அந்த ஃபீல்டு இருக்குல்ல, எப்படி நம்மளுக்கு ஃபேன் கம்பெனிஸ் இருக்குல்ல அந்த மாதிரி இந்த ஆடிட்டிங் ஃபீல்டில் இவனுங்க. சரி இவனுங்கெல்லாம் லூஸ் பண்ண கம்மியான எல்பியில் தான் வாங்குறானுங்க அப்படின்னு. எதுக்கு வாங்குறானுங்கன்னு எனக்கு இப்போ தான் புரிஞ்சுது. ஷாப்பிஃபை இருக்கானுங்க பேர் எல்லாம் க்ரியேட் பண்ணிட்டானுங்க ப்ரோ. நம்ம அந்த மாதிரி க்ரியேட் பண்ணி வச்சுக்க நம்ம ஆயிருக்கோம். கொஞ்சம் முன்னாடியே லேர்ன் பண்ணிட்டு மாஸ் பண்ணி.
And on a store 3. So the only way that you can do is you can store it in a pair. Now how is pair defined? You define the pair stuff, and then you say the first stuff that you want to store is of integer data type. The second stuff that you want to store is of integer data type. Then you enclose them into curly braces. So what happens is this actually stores everything into a variable p. So this variable p is now having 1,3. That is the meaning of this particular line. So that's how you define. Now in place of this int, you can also have something like double, string, character. The data type can be anything. Okay, now if p is storing something like 1,3, now if I'm accessing p, it's actually a pair. What if I want to access this 1? What if I want to access this 3? So it's very simple. What you say is you just write p dot first, and that will go and access this particular 1. And if you write p dot second, that will go and access this particular 3. So that is as simple as it can get. So if you are printing p dot first, 1 gets printed. If you are printing p dot second, 3 gets printed. I hope this is clear. Now imagine you are wanting to store. So as of now, you know that if you declare an integer data type or a string data type or a character data type, you can always store a single variable. Like if I want to store int a equal to 2, that's fine. And I also know if I want to store 2 variables, I can use something like pair. But what if the question comes up and they say that I want to store 3 variables, 4 variables, 5 variables? Can you do it? Yes, we can do it. We can use the nested property of pair. Yes, we can use the nested property of pair. Now imagine I say you that you're going to store 1, 3, 4. So what you'll say is, okay, I have one pair and I know this pair can store 2 guys. So this is the first guy and this is the second guy in a pair. So what I'll say is the second guy can be of a pair data type. Thereby the second guy stores 2 guys in itself. That is how you can do it if you're wanting to store 3 variables. Got it? Like
name assignment. Bro, oh bro, இப்படிலாம் இருக்கா? ஐயோ, first third second no second போதுமாடா? ஏன்டா இப்படி பண்ணுறீங்க? ரிட்டர்ன் சீரை கொடுக்கணுமா? இப்போலாம் கொடுக்குறதே இல்லையா? 4. All right.
Like pair of integer, and in the second guy you say that I'm going to store a pair in itself. So basically 1, comma, and the second guy is a pair. So again a curly brace and 3,4. So that's how you can also store 3. And eventually if they're asking you to store 4 variables, you can go nested, variable enough. If you remember, this second guy now stores second, then seconds. So this is, so if I ask you what is p dot first, it's p dot. Now what if I declare, now as of now you would have been declaring arrays like integer array, right? Or character array, or something like a string array. But can I declare a pair array? Yes, you can declare a pair array. The data type can be anything. Pair can also be data type. Now this is the index 0. This is the index 1. This is the index 2 now. So you are storing pairs in your array indexes as of now. So pair can be treated as a data type. It generally lies inside the utility library. Yes, it lies inside the utility library. Okay. Now if I'm trying to access array 1. So that's basically this dot second. Now of this guy, which is the second, that's 5. So if I'm trying to print this, this is going to print 5. So this is the entire knowledge of pair that is required in order to get started with data structures. And
ஸோ இப்போ வந்து நான் அது டாமோதரா டெக்னிக் யூஸ் பண்ண போகிறேன். இது வந்து பொமோடோரோட செகண்ட் வெர்ஷன் சொல்லலாம். இது என்னோட வெர்ஷன் கூட வச்சுக்கோங்க. ஸோ லைக் அது வந்து நான் எப்படின்னா இது நான் என் இஷ்டத்துக்கு மாற்ற முடியாது. அப்புறம் ஐ நீட் 80 minutes bro, 80 minutes. எப்போ வந்து இது ஆகும்? 1 of 3 sessions
algorithms. And the next part we'll be learning about vectors. So the first container that we will be learning is vectors. Please understand every possible function about vectors, because these functions will be similar in all the other containers like queue, list, map, set. So please make sure you understand all the functions in vector in depth. So till now, if I ask you to store 5 values, the normal thing you would have done was you would have declared an array of size 5, and that will be giving you access to 5 possible indexes, right? If you remember well enough, this gives access to 5 possible indexes, the first one being 0, the second one being 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, but afterwards, if you want to modify it, like if I want that, I want to enter one more element, I cannot modify the size of this array, because this array has been declared of size 5, and I cannot modify the size because arrays are constant in size. So this is where something like vector comes in. Vector is a container which is dynamic in nature. Like you can always increase the size of the vector whenever you wish to. If there is a requirement where you do not know the size of a particular data structure that will be required, that's when you think of a vector, and that is the best place to use vector. So vector is a container only, okay, which stores elements in a similar fashion as the array does, okay. Now in order to declare vector, it's very simple. You just give the vector name, then you give the data type. It can be integer, double, char, string, anything, and then you declare the data type name. Like over here it's V, it can be Raj, it can be Striver, it can be Vec, it can be ABCD, it can be anything, okay. So right after that, there's a function as pushback. So if you're saying pushback of 1, what it does is, this line basically does is it creates an empty container. Remember this, it creates an empty container. In the next line it says pushback of 1. So this empty container says, okay, I'm empty, so I'm going to take 1 into it. So pushback of 1 will do this. I'm going to take 1 into it. Now there is another function as emplace back. What do you mean by emplace back? It's a similar to pushback. It is similar to pushback. So the moment you do emplace back 2, it dynamically increases its size and inserts 2 at the back. It dynamically increases its size and pushes 2 in the back. Now generically emplace back is faster than pushback. Now you can find the reasoning why in Quora. I'll be leaving the link in the description, okay. Now this is how you can define vector. Now can we define vector than like pushback? So the moment you do emplace back 2, it dynamically increases its size and inserts 2 at the back. It dynamically increases its size and pushes 2 in the back. Now generically emplace back is faster than pushback. Now you can find the reasoning why in Quora. I'll be leaving the link in the description, okay. Now this is how you can define vector. Now can we define vector of a paired data type? You can again define vector of a paired data type, as I said. So what you just need to do is you need to change the data type declaration inside this. So if you just change it, you can always, but over here there is a trick. As I said, there are a couple of ways in which you can insert elements into vector. One was pushback, the other one was emplace back. So if you're using pushback, you have to insert like 1, 2. You have to give the curly braces in order to enter, like in order to insert a particular pair. But if you're using emplace back and you write without curly braces 1, 2, emplace back automatically assumes it to be a pair and takes it as an input and inserts into the vector that you have defined. So that is how emplace back is different from pushback in terms of syntax. Now what if I want to declare a container with a lot of elements already filled? So imagine this is the size. Now this is how you can also declare something of a size. Like this is the size that you can give. So what happens is a container containing 100, like containing 5 instances of 100 is already defined. Yes, a container containing 5 instances of 100 is already defined, where this is the 0th index, this is the first index, this is the second index, this is the third index, and this is the fourth index. So a container of size 5 is already defined with 5 instances of 100. What if I don't want to declare with 100? You can just declare of this. If you do this, what happens is a container of size 5 with 5 instances of 0 or any garbage value is declared. Now this depends on the compiler. Okay, that's how you can easily do it. So similarly, if I do something like v1 of 520, this will declare a container of 5 instances of 20. Okay, now what if I want to copy this container into some other vector? So you just need to declare another vector v2, and you need to pass on this particular vector v1. So v2 will be the similar container, but a copy of it, like a copy of it, not the same one. It will be another container of 5 instances of 20. So this is how generically the declaration is. If you know these kind of declarations, it does work. You don't need to declare any further. Now you might be thinking, but Shriver, what if we define the size of the vector to be 5? Can we increase it afterwards? Yes. Even after this, you try this line, push back 1. After this line, if you try this, it increases its size and inserts 1 at the back. Yes, even if you try this line, after this, it will increase its size and expand to a size of 6. So it is allowed. It's dynamic in nature. You can always increase the size of vector, even if you are predefining the size to be 5. Remember this. Now, how do you access elements in a vector? One of the easiest ways is, imagine your vector is like having 20, 10, 15, 5, and 7. Imagine this is what your vector as of now is, the container as of now is, and this is the 0th index, as I told you. This is the first index, second index, third index, and fourth index. The best way to access them is you can say v1. So if you say, similar to array, if you say v1, it means 10. This actually means 10. If you say v3, it actually means 5. So you can actually access it in the similar fashion as you do for an array. Okay, that's how you can access it. That's one of the ways. Like you can write directly v0, or you can write v.add. Generally people don't use this, so you can just avoid it. You can simply use the stuff that you use in array. Okay, what's the other way? The other way is an iterator. Yes, the other way is an iterator. Now I was telling you that through the lecture we will be learning about containers and iterators. So let's understand iterators. What is an iterator? Imagine the vector, like let's take the same vector only 15 and 6 and 7. Imagine this was the vector. Okay, now if I write, like for iterator, you have to write this. Whatever data type you have taken, vector, that data type, double colons, and you have to write iterator, and this can be anything. This can be it, this can be byte, this can be anything. This is just a name. But the syntax is the data structure, data type, double colon, iterator, this. And you write v.begin. So iterator basically means it points to the memory address, because these guys would be stored somewhere in the memory. Like this 20 would have been somewhere stored in the memory, right? And that memory can have any address. The address can be 800567 something something. The memory address can be anything. This 10 will be right after that. This 15 will be right after that, right? So all these possible values are actually stored in memory. So
Shit. Bro, உனக்கு மெயினாக மறந்துட்டேன். இப்போ கிடைக்குமான்னு தெரியல, போய் செக் பண்ணுறேன். இதே போடுற பிடிஎல் ப்ரோ, நான் அலப்பறை கொடுப்பான் ப்ரோ. அப்பா உள்ள விட்டான். ஐயோ, ஒரு என்னவோ கோர்ஸ் சொன்னாரே, ஐஓடினா என்னடா இது? ஒரே நிமிஷம் ப்ரோ, எனக்கு இந்த கோர்ஸ் முடிக்கணும், அதுதான் வேற ஒன்றும் இல்லை. எங்கடா இருக்கு, எங்கடா இருக்கு, எங்க 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 இல்லையடா. டாய் PTL, course duration, course language, course exam, course credits, engineering, maths and science, humanity, health, engineering and technology தான். இதில் வந்து என்ன ப்ரோ சர்ச் பண்ணால் வரல. ஐஓடியா, ஐஓடின்னு போட்டால் தான் ஏஓடியா. ஐஓடி, குட்டி ஐஓடி போட்டேன், குட்டி ஐஓடி. டாய் 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 மாதிரி பண்ணுறீங்கடா. நிறைய கேட்கணுன்ட்டு இருந்தேனே, யாரை கேட்கணுன்ட்டு இருந்தேன். ஓகே ஓகே. அதுக்குள்ளே ஓடிடுவாடா. ஒரு செகண்ட் தான் வெயிட் பண்ணுவான், எல்லாம் அங்கே போயிடுவான். அவன் ரொம்ப பிஸி. பார்க்க முடியாது. ஓகே ப்ரோ, இப்போ வந்து எனக்கு இந்த ஃபோக்கஸ் பீரியட் புரியுது, பட் வெயிட் பாஸ் பண்ணி வச்சுருக்கிறேன் இப்போதைக்கு. I'll just come. கைஸ் ஒர்க் வந்துருச்சு, அதனால தான். ஸோ யா, கொஞ்சம் ஸ்க்ரோல் பண்ணிட்டேன் ப்ரோ, வச்சுக்காதீங்க. ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாம்.
So what we do is
ப்ரோ இது ஒரு இதில் வேற ஒரு பிரச்சனை ப்ரோ. இதை எப்படி இது பண்ணுறதுன்னு தெரியல. அளவு செட்டிங்ஸில் நோ மிக்ஸா இதெல்லாம் எப்படா கொண்டு வந்தீங்க?
actually points to that memory. It points directly to the memory, right? Not to the element. It points to the memory. Understand that. V dot begin means it's pointing to here, but on the memory. Okay. So if you're trying to print V dot begin, you're printing the memory address, not the element. And in order to access, like if you have read about C++, in order to access anything that is in the memory, you just write star. Like if I write star V dot begin, understand this. V dot begin is going to give you the memory, this portion. And the moment you write star, the element inside this is accessed.
Oh my god.
Now, let's understand again. If I'm writing V dot begin, this is actually pointing to the memory where 20 is, okay? The next time I'm saying, hey iterator, can you just move ahead? So this begin does this goes here. So now the iterator, instead of begin, is right at the next memory address because I've shifted the memory. And inside, all of these are contiguous memory locations. All of these are contiguous memory locations. So if you are shifting it ++, it moves to the next memory. Again, if you do IT++, moves to the next memory. After that, if you're doing star of IT, what will happen? What will happen? As of now, it was 20. So if you do star of IT, this actually prints 10 because it has shifted to 10 and now you're saying star. Access the value at that memory. So you get 10. I hope that makes sense. Okay. What if right after this, I do an IT +2? So basically, I'm saying shifted by 2 positions to this portion. Shifted directly by 2 positions to this portion, which has a 6. Now, if I try to print this, it will print 6. So this is how you can easily use the iterator. Iterator is nothing but points to the memory where the element is lying. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So we are talking about iterators. Now you must be thinking, do we have any other iterators apart from begin? We have something like end, reverse end, and reverse begin. Okay. Now imagine I have something like 10, 20, 30, 40 as the vector. Okay. So this is what the vector is. So if I'm saying vector dot end, like where does this point to? Remember this, end will not point to this portion. End will not point to this portion. Instead of that, end will point to somewhere right after 40. The memory location that is after 40. Now, if you on this iterator do an IT minus, then this iterator will move to 40. Then only this will move to 40. So end points to a memory location that is right after the last element. Please understand, this is very, very important in terms of iterator. So you understood about end, but what about something like reverse end? Now these couple of things are never used, but just know it, like it's never ever used. What is reverse end? Reverse end basically means I am going to reverse this. I'm going to reverse this. So apparently the reverse is 40 at first, then 30, then 20, then 10. So now the end is 10. So right after end. So that's this position is where it will be pointing. That's this position is where it will be pointing. Reverse end. End means right after, right? And reverse begin will be pointing to this. Reverse begin will be pointing to this. Now there is a specific thing about this. It moves in the reverse way. Now if I try to do IT++ on this, if I do IT++, IT as of now is pointing here. IT++ will move here. Yes. And after this, IT++ will move here. So it's a reverse iterator. You have to think it in the reverse way. Like if you just think this array in the reverse, it's 40 vector rather, 40, 30, 10, 20, 10. And now if I talk about end, this is end. And if I talk about begin, this is begin. And if I say begin ++, it moves to 30. So it's that way. Reverse. Everything is in the reverse order. Never used. Do you need to know? just know it for the sake of knowing, but no one is going to ask you. We have discussed about v of 0, v of at of 0. What is v dot back? As the name recommends, if the vector is having something like this, v dot back means the element which is at 30 is the element which is at 30. That is the meaning of this. Now, if I'm wanting to print the vector, there are a couple of ways. Imagine I have 10, 20, 30 as the vector, and I want to print it. The simplest way is, I know the indexes are 0, 1, 2, so I can directly loop from 0, 1, 2. Like, I can just go across and say, ki I'll loop from 0, 1, 2 and print it. That's a very simple way. The other thing is, I say, I'm going to do it iterator wise, because I know this guy is begin. So I write begin, and I know the last guy is end. Right after the last guy is end. So I'm going to run the iterator till it does not reaches the last guy. And I'm going to do an IT++. The first time I get 10, next I move it, I get 20, next I move it, I get 30, and I will print every time star of IT. And this is how you can print the entire vector. This is how you can print the entire. Vector. I from zeros. I know that, like, I can just go across and say ki I'll loop from 0, 1, 2 and print it. That's a very simple way. The other thing is, I say I'm gonna do it iterator wise, because I know this guy is begin. So I write begin, and I know the last guy is end. Right after the last guy is end. So I'm going to run the iterator till it does not reaches the last guy. And I'm going to do an IT++. The first time I get 10, next I move it, I get 20, next I move it, I get 30, and I will print every time star of IT. And this is how you can print the entire vector. This is how you can print the entire vector.
Okay,
But there is a shortcut. Now you must not be like, no one wants to write these long syntaxes, because STL means short, like standard template library, but it means everything in a very simpler fashion. So STL gives you something like auto. So if you write auto, it automatically assigns it to a vector iterator. You don't have to say that this is a vector iterator. You don't need to define the data type. It automatically defines the data type. Now, even if you write integer a equal to 5, so you're defining a to be of integer data type. Even if you write something like auto of a equal to 5, computer automatically says that this is an integer, so this a will be of integer data type. So if you write auto, the data type is automatically assigned according to the data. According to the data type is automatically assigned. Like if this would have been something like Raj string, and I would have written auto of a would have been automatically string. So auto means auto assignation. So that's the beauty of C++. If for some time you don't know the data type, you can just write auto.
Man, it's crazy, la. Like, just like that, if I see this means I could understand. But I don't know whether this is
C++ will take care of it, and it will automatically assign the data type for you.
Oh,
The
okay.
other way to print the vector is using the for each loop.
Algorithm, iterator, functions, finally the components. I don't know.
So if I use this for each loop, which is it on v, so it basically means if the vector is 10, 20, and 30, I'm saying it. First time it is here, next time it is here, next time it is here. And you can simply print the it. Auto means on the data type. Please iterate on the data type. First iterates on the 10, not an iterator, not an iterator. This means over here int, because it is of integer data type. Automatically iterate 10, then 20, then 30, and automatically prints it entirely.
Imagine conducting every part of your research only on one platform. Meet Boreum, your AI-powered research companion. With 170 million papers, 140,000 journals, and millions of patents, Boreum gives you instant summaries, deep insights, and traceable references. From literature discovery.
So that's about how to declare a vector, how to use iterator in a vector, how to print a vector. Now let's understand the deletion in a vector. So imagine I want to delete something. So there is something as an erase function. And if I have the vector like 10, 20, 12, 23, I say begin dot plus 1. Now in order to use the erase function, there are a couple of things. Either you give the iterator that like the location of the address that you want to delete, that this is the address that I want to delete. Please delete this address. So I'm saying, okay, begin plus 1. What does this mean? Begin plus 1 means 20. So if you just do erase of this address, so the vector will be now 10, 12, 13. The vector will be reshuffled. The vector will be reshuffled into 10, 12, and 13. That is how the reshuffling will go on. So that is one way to erase. So we have understood how to erase single element. But what if I have a vector like 10, 20, 30, and 40, and 50? And I say, Striver, I want to delete these couple of elements. I don't want to go single. Do you have something? I say, yes, I have. And that's like erase. And I say, give me the starting address and give me the end address after the element. Very important. End address after the element. So starting, if I want to delete 20, can I say that's nothing but begin plus 1? I can say, because right after begin,
Dasna யாரு? Shit. When you see the girl you copied crying. When you see the girl you copied.
That is where 20 is. I want to delete 30. That is begin plus 2. But I said right after what do you want to delete. So that's begin plus 3. That's begin plus 3. 3 is pointing to here. So I want to delete this portion. But you have to give this end after the guy that you want to delete. After. Right after 30 you have to give the address. So apparently it deletes start, and this is something like this end is not included. The start is included. Got it? So please make sure you give something as which is not included right after one, right after that. Okay, so that's how you can easily delete it. Okay, so for this example we have 10, 20, 12, 23, 35. What do you mean by plus 2? That means 12. What do you mean by plus 4? Plus 2, plus 3, plus 4. So plus 4 is here. So apparently this and this will get deleted and you will be left out with 10, 20 and 35. I hope that makes sense. Now we're going to learn about insert function. Insert. Again, if you want to insert something, it's very simple. First of all, if you declare this creates 100, like 2 instances of 100 in a container. Now, if I want to insert 300 right at the start. So I say dot begin and please insert 300. So this does is, this inserts right at the beginning, okay, 300. Now imagine you had like 10, 20, 30, 40, okay? And I want to insert something here. I want to insert a 5 here. So what do you write? This is the first position. So instead of begin, you have to write begin on the first position. Can you please insert 5? So if you write this 5 will go here and get inserted right at the first position. That's how you do insert. Now that was for single element. You inserted single element. What if I say that you have 10, 20, 30, 40 as the vector? I want to insert 2 5s. Imagine I want to insert 2 5s. How do you do that? So you say, I want to insert at the first position the number of elements that I want to insert and the number that I want to insert. So this will do is, this will take 5 and 5 and insert it right after 10. So this makes it 10, 5, 5, 20, 30, 40. So if I say over here, you had 30, 100, 100. So I'm saying begin plus 1, which is right after 300. 2 positions, like two occurrences of 10. So 2 occurrences of 10 inserted. Understood? Very simple. So that's how the insert function does work for this. Now what if you have a vector and you want to insert it into some other vector? Now imagine I say that, okay, I have a vector like, for this example, we have 50, 50. So I had a 50 and 50 vector. Okay, Now this vector is named as copy. So this is the line that declares that. Okay. Now I already had this vector 30, 10, 10, 100, 100. And now I want to insert this 50, 50 somewhere. So at that somewhere, I give that address and I say, please enter this entire vector. Please enter this entire vector. So it will easily take this entire vector and enter it. If you want to have a portion of this vector, you can give that starting portion and you can give this after end portion, and that will also do it. Again, not required. What is required is erase and this portion. This is hardly required. If you just know erase and insert about a single element, does. Okay, that's how you can easily do about vector. Now what are the other functions in vector? b.size will give you how many elements are there in the vector as of now. Dot pop back, if this is the vector, pops out the last element. Dot swap is very simple. If this is a vector v1, this is a vector v2, it swaps the vector as the name recommends. v.clear, doesn't matter how big your vector is, trims it down to an empty vector, trims it down to an empty vector, erases everything. Okay, and v.empty says, does your vector, like if your vector also has like a minimum of one element, it says not empty, not empty. But if the vector has nothing, it will say true, empty. So these are the functions that are generically required in a vector. So the next container that we will be learning is list generically required in a vector.
swap clear BMT வந்து it's like pop out எல்லாத்தையும் erases the entire clearனா entire vector clear பண்ணும். emptyனா உள்ள இருக்க எலிமெண்ட்ஸை மட்டும் ரிமூவ் பண்ணணும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஸோ ஸ்வாப் வந்து இட்ஸ் லைக் ஸ்வாப்பிங். ஓகே, ரெண்டு வெக்டர் ஸ்வாப் பண்ணிக்கலாம் உள்ள இருக்க எலிமெண்ட்ஸை. அது எப்படி கண்டிஷன் மாறும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். லைக் செக் பண்ணிடலாமா? ஸோ இப்போ நம்ம போயிட்டு நம்ம ட்ரை பண்ணுவோம். வெக்டாருக்கு வெக்டார் v1 வெக்டார் இன்ட்டு v1 ஈக்குவல் டு உள்ள லிஸ்ட்டாக தான் கொடுக்கணும் 1,4. இப்படி கொடுக்கணுமா என்ன தெரியலையே. சி அவுட் v1 எப்படின்னா பிரிண்டே ஆகாது. v1 ஆஃப் 0 ரன் பண்ணு. ஷிட் ஓகே, 1 பிரிண்ட் ஆகுது. ஓகே, இப்போ வந்து வெக்டார் எப்படி இது பண்ணிக்கலாம், வேறு எப்படி பண்ணுறது? க்ரியேட் இல்லைனா இப்படி மட்டும் க்ரியேட் மட்டும் பண்ணலாமோ? பண்ணலாம். பண்ணிவிட்டு v1.insert இருக்கா, இன்சர்ட் 2 of 100. என்னத்தல ஒர்க் ஆகல? இன்சர்ட்னா இல்லையா? இன்சர்ட் இருக்கேப்பா. இன்சர்ட் ஒருவேளை ஆட்டோ போடணுமோ? ஓகே, இன்சர்ட்னா ஆல்ரெடி எலமெண்ட்ஸ் ப்ரெசன்ட். அப்படிலாம் கிடையாது. அப்படியா? சரி, போய் தொலை. ஓ, இங்கேயும் கொடுக்கலாம். இங்கேயுமே இப்படி கொடுக்கலாம். 2 of 100னா 2 டைம் ஆஃப் 2 டைம் 200. Is it okay? Is it okay now? begin. Begin பண்ணிட்டோம். What is wrong with you? கண்டிஷனை இதை போட்டால் தான் போட முடியும். பிகினா எண்டு கொடுக்கலாமா? எண்டு ரன் பண்ணு. லாஸ்ட் எலமெண்ட்டு எத்தனை நம்பர்னே எனக்கு தெரியாது. லாஸ்ட் எலமெண்ட் என்ன பண்ணுவேன்? சைஸு v டாட் சைஸு -1. லாஸ்ட் எலமெண்ட் ஓ ஷிட் அதுதான் லாஸ்ட் எலமெண்ட் கொடுக்குது. ஓகே. vn-1th கொஸ்டினில் சொல்லலாமா? What the fuck? vn-1 எண்டு கடைசி மெமரி அட்ரஸில் இருக்கு. மெமரி அட்ரஸ்ஸு -1 அதுக்கு முன்னாடி இருக்கிற 200. ஸோ சைஸ் என்ன? சைஸ் வந்து 200 200 200 4 4 -1 போல -1 தான் இது. இப்போ 200 காட்டுது. இது வந்து ஒரு கடைசி எலமெண்ட் தான் போடுது. கடைசி எலமெண்ட் -1. இது வந்து பிகினில் போட்டுன்னா நான் வந்து எப்படின்னா பில்டு பண்ணது பண்ணலாம். நானும் அந்த காலியும் ஒரே ஹைட்டு ஒரே வெயிட் கிட்டத்தட்ட. ஆமாம் சாவம். டிஸ்மிஸ். ஓகே, இந்த ஸ்டடி செஷனை முடிச்சுக்கலாம். ஸோ கைஸ் ஐ வில் பி பேக் ஆஃப்டர் நூன் ஐ கெஸ் எனக்கு வந்து இப்போது